Did they draw between the lines? Did their coloring stay between the boundaries of the outline of that picture on that page? Now, if it hasn't, I will kindly suggest that good work, but next time, just try to be a little more careful. Now, as I think about that, what in the world difference should it make to an adult if a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, or a 5-year-old can draw between the lines of a coloring book or not? Makes a difference to us only because we think that that is some sort of sign of conformity, of discipline, and maturity. Now, we as adults spend a great deal of time and energy trying to live within the lines or the boundaries of certain cultural expectations. Now, if we didn't, we'd be like uncivilized beasts. And we try to teach children that rule of staying between the lines of expectation through their coloring drawings. As adults, we simply do not like messiness, or most of us don't like messiness. We want our life to be neat, orderly, secure. So we want to stay between the lines. Now, I can recall a commercial a few years ago, maybe you do as well. It opens up with a classroom scene. It's a classroom from the 50s or 60s. It's in black and white, and all the desks are in neat, orderly rows. And the children are working on some sort of art project. They're all intent with their heads looking down at their desktop, and they're coloring or drawing or doing something there. And the old, stern, matronly-looking school mom is walking up and down the aisles, repeating over and over again, stay between the lines, stay between the lines, stay between the lines. And as she passes this impish-looking second grader, who must be sick and tired of hearing this admonition, she looks up from her desktop, grins from ear to ear, takes up her crayon, and with wild abandon begins to scribble across her paper. Then the scene transitions to this young girl, now a young woman, sitting behind the wheel of this fancy, expensive-looking, sporty convertible, driving with a wild abandon with her hair blowing in the wind. And the emphasis of the commercial was that this particular car, whatever it was, I don't recall, was meant for those who would not conform to the boundaries of expectations of others, who could live outside of the lines with gusto and just let their heart go for it. Now, as I hear today's gospel lesson, I see it as an invitation to us to live beyond the lines, so to speak, to grow our faith, to expand our vision, and to broaden our horizons. Now, these disciples had heard Jesus teaching. They had seen his mastery over nature and all sorts of chaos. They had seen the manner in which he related to all forms of people, the young, the old, the sick, the well, the rich, the poor, the just, the lost, the male, the female, the Jew, the Gentile. They saw in him a man that seemed to be relating to people in a most divine and godlike way. And people started talking about Jesus, about what they were observing, what they were beholding. They recognized that he was doing something new. But yet, of course, they were perplexed. Here was a people, like all people, who lived within certain boundaries and lines. The boundaries of history, tradition, social mores, religious law. They didn't quite know what to say about Jesus. Now those Pharisees, like stern school teachers, walked up and down the aisle, so to speak, and kept saying to Jesus, "Stay between the lines, Jesus. Stay between the lines, Jesus. Stay between the lines, Jesus. You're not doing things according to our expectation and the ways our forefathers did it before us." Well, Jesus recognized that the time had come for him to sort of step out between the lines and to draw with him others who could live with gusto of faith in their heart. And he asks them, "Who do you say that I am? What do you think about this life that I'm introducing you to? Who do you say that I am?" That is probably the most crucial question of anyone's spiritual life. Doesn't matter who your grandmother or grandfather said he was. Doesn't matter what your mother or father said he was. Doesn't matter what your neighbor says about Jesus. What matters is what you and I personally will choose to say about Jesus. And the people back then didn't know what to say. They were confused. They wouldn't confirm the validity of his life. They wouldn't deny the validity of his life. They just zipped their lips. And we Christians are pretty good at zipping our lips when it comes to Jesus all too often, aren't we? We're not willing to share what we think about Jesus and who he is. For they recognized if they were to say what maybe their heart was feeling, they now would be walking upon dangerous ground. Their life just might have to change if they really said what they thought about Jesus. Now we have Peter. Peter faces this question head on. And like someone told over and over again to stay between the lines, to stay between the lines, to stay between the lines, Peter says, "No more of that for me." He takes, so to speak, the crayon of faith in his hands, and he boldly proclaims, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." First time it was proclaimed in Scripture. You're the Christ, the Son of the living God. And it was as if the earth sort of quaked at that moment. Nothing would ever be the same again if Jesus is the Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus recognized how difficult this was for Peter to declare. It could get you in a heap of trouble. Get you crucified, it could get you stoned. Today, if you say Jesus is the Christ, the Son of the living God, people probably more or less just ignore you. Some sort of religious fanatic. Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God. This is the kind of faith that Jesus is looking for from us. For it's the only kind of faith upon which he can build a kingdom and a world that would give glory to the Father. Jesus is the Christ, then that will be a faith from generation to generation to generation that will bring change to the human heart and more order to our human world. The world expects us to stay between the lines. And if we stay between the lines of the world, we really don't give a heck of a lot of thought to Jesus, a heck of a lot of thought to our life. Now, for instance, I was listening to Fox News in Philly the other day, and they had a segment on where they asked Eagles fans, and Eagles fans can be pretty fanatic. Maybe you've got some fanatics here. But they asked them if they had to make a choice between the Eagles and their religion, what would they give up? Well, they'd give up their religion. Now, that's the lines of the world. Jesus invites us to step outside of the lines and start living with some gusto that brings some real life. See, I would think that when we're on our deathbed, what the Eagles do on a Sunday afternoon is going to matter squat to us. But we may be more concerned about where I stand in relationship to my God and my neighbor. True champions are not born on a football field. They're born in their heart. What they do for family and community, church, and God. Those are the champions we should be lifting up in this world. Amen. Not somebody who can catch a piece of pig leather filled with air. Jesus invites the world to live outside of the lines, so to speak. To seek not just a love of the kingdom, but to seek to give a heart of service to that kingdom. Doesn't want us just to be eager to eat of the loaves for our strengthening and comfort, but to drink of his cup of passion for the sake of the world. Come to me, Jesus invites. Take that crayon of faith, so to speak, in your hand and answer for yourself, who do you say that I am? If we could say with the likes of Peter, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God, to you I give my heart. Then I think we begin to discover what abundant living is all about. It's a matter of the heart, not a matter of your bank account, the car you drive, the house you live in, how much is in your refrigerator. Outside the lines is what grabs you, what motivates you. What will you give yourself to with a wild abandon? The gospel encourages us not to be conformed to the standards of this world, to live outside the lines and proclaim a God whose name is above every name, the God before whom every knee should bow. He gives us the power to live with gusto. There is no more crucial question for any of us, not just once in our life, but every day of our life, to determine what we're going to say about this one who presents himself as the Christ. Is he to you and me the Son of the living God or not? How we answer is going to determine how we live. And how we live will determine our eternal destiny. May we join the likes of Peter, bold enough to declare in the face of the boundaries of this world that I believe in Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God. May that be the foundation of a life that a church can be built on, individual lives can be built on, families can succeed on, communities flourish upon. Let Christ be to you, to me, the Son of the living God. May his Spirit open our eyes, open our hearts to be able to proclaim that with Peter this day. Amen.